I think you could make any Batman character amazing, except maybe Condiment King. But, but I mean, there's exceptions to every rule.
Somewhere out there, there's a fan of Condiment King who's saying, come on.
Yeah, it's Grant Morrison. He's like, come on!
That was a pretty good, brief Grant Morrison imitation.
Sweet, nailed it. Have I ever told you what happened the day after the EISNERs?
No.
So I go to lunch with, I'm going to drop some names, but Jim Lee and Frank Miller. We're at lunch together.
Stellar name drop.
That's right. I did well. So Jim turns to Frank and goes, Frank, Tom won 2 EISNERs yesterday. And I'm like, yeah, this is my big moment. Frank looks at me and goes, I think I have 21. And it was just a, yeah.
Did you just sling down in the chair?
Yeah, I just kind of sort of slank down. Oh, yeah.
That's hilarious.
That's Frank Miller, man.
So you got a kind of a big event coming up this summer. The social event of the season. Batman, Catwoman, wedding. I mean, everyone who's anyone is trying to get an invite to this.
That's right. Including the Joker. So don't go.
I need to know how this pitch was done because the whole will they, won't they vibe has been there for a long time with them. How do you go walk in and say, hey guys, here's what we're doing for our big summer event. It's not gonna be Justice League versus Justice League International, Justice League Detroit or anything. It's Batman, Catwoman, wedding. Bam.
I think the events people care about or the ones that sort of hit them, I don't know, that stay with them are the ones that are built on emotion and built on character, not just on big what ifs and that's great in comics and you have to have that, but I think at the end of the day, people want to see something that they can believe in, and I think that's what emotions are. And so we didn't approach it as like we're going to an event, we just let it organically grow out of the book. This is where these characters have sort of always been heading, and there's sort of an inevitability about the whole thing.
Is it actually gonna happen?
What?
Will they actually say the vows? Will they change the vows? You're totally lying to me.
I will say this. My goal with coming to Batman, the hardest part, the thing that really stressed me out and drove me crazy was there's nothing new in Batman because everyone's done it. It's been done for 78 years, now 80 years pretty soon. And everyone's worked on it. It's been in every medium. It's been in all the best creators. Frank Miller won 21 EISNERs doing it. And we have to find the new, or else we're going to bore the crap out of our audience. Like that's the whole point. When you come and you're paying good money for that comic, you want to read something you've already read before. And so when we're approaching this wedding, if this wedding goes through and you have these 2 characters finding love and happiness, a character whose whole existence is built on pain, 2 characters have been built on pain, finding happiness and how that screws with them and how that screws with the world of having a guy who can't save the world because he's happy, that's something you've never seen before. Alternatively, if this wedding doesn't go off and something goes wrong, you're having characters who thought they had happiness, who were that close and were broken by it, and that's something you haven't seen before. So either way, 51 is going to be one of the most important comics of the next year.
You know, it's interesting how you bring up, you know, trying to do something new with this character, because you're right. Not only has he been around for so long, but all these great creators, you mentioned, you know, one of them, but there's been like 20 iconic Batman runs, right?
Yeah.
You came onto the book trying to look into happiness and how Bruce Wayne could actually find happiness, which is something that actually really hasn't been explored too often in the comics. Why was that important to see if Bruce could actually work through some of his issues to kind of allow himself to be happy? Doesn't that change Batman though?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I think Batman is a machine for turning pain into hope. That's basically what he does. I think that's why he sort of appeals to everyone, because all of us have these horrible moments in our lives, and what we sort of, or what I think we sort of realize is that we can't throw away those moments. They become part of us, and in a way they become part of the strength of us. Like the worst thing that happens to you becomes a source of pride, and that's what Batman is. That's what he teaches us, is that the worst moment in his life is what allows him to save the world. The worst moment of his life is what allows him to go up to any bully and say never again. What we're doing with Batman is saying that what happens if that pain goes away a little bit. And that's what we're doing, and we have issues coming up with Tony Daniel drawing, and we're looking exactly at that issue, at that moment of, if we take away that pain from Batman, do we take away Batman? What does that mean for Bruce Wayne? What does that pain mean for Bruce Wayne? Is he more than just pain? And I guess we're gonna find out.
I also like that you're doing the story in DC Nation, exploring the Joker's reaction to this. You could take that in a bunch of different directions, But I'm wondering, is it what bothers him about this, the fact that maybe Batman is about to find happiness? Is that what bothers him about it?
I think the question's wrong. No offense.
Well, thank you. Thank you for correcting me, Tom.
Any question about the Joker is wrong. I think that's the essential part of that character, is that he's unlike any other character in fiction. I mean, not just comics, but fiction and TV, in that he doesn't have motivating factors. He doesn't go from A to B to C to D. He doesn't say like, oh, I'm gonna do this because of that thing. He just does a thing and does it wrong. You could write I would write a 12-issue miniseries where like his whole motivation is to find an egg, and that's what he thinks is gonna be greatest happiness. And when he finally gets the egg, he just cracks it on his head and walks away. Like from moment to moment, Joker doesn't have motivation. That's what makes him frightening. You go up to him, he could give you $1 million, he could shoot you in the face, and he wouldn't care one way or the other.
So what are we gonna see about the Joker in this DC Nation story?
So the setup for the story is there's a guy named Roger, just a normal guy, and he's sitting at home, and there's a knock on his door, and Joker shows up, and he says, oh, Batman's getting married, and he's going to send me a wedding invitation, and I'm going to sit here and wait for it. And the guy's like, what? Batman's getting married? No, he's not getting married. And he's sending you, why would he invite you to a wedding? And why would he send it to my house? You know, I don't know it. I'm not at all involved in this. And then Joker just kind of looks at him, because he's a crazy person, right? And he's like, well, he has to send it somewhere. And he sits down in this guy's house, and him and Roger wait for this wedding invitation. And the whole time, he's like, you're gonna kill me, you're the Joker. He's like, no, as long as the invitation comes, I won't kill you, because then I'll be happy. And so Roger's just sitting there waiting for an invitation which has no possibility of coming, knowing that it's his death sentence when the mail comes. And you'll see what happens. So it's a story of Joker's insanity.
You're almost to issue 50. The wedding will be issue 50 in July. You said that you want to write 100 issues of Batman.
103.
You want to write 103. We're at exactly 103. Perfect.
Because I did 3 of my issues so far have been with co-writers. I worked with Josh Williamson and Steve Orlando, and I did 3 of those. So I wanted 100 of my own issues. So it has to be 103.
Do you have a plan for all the way up to 103?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is all one story. I know it doesn't seem like it, but what happened in Batman 1 will affect what happens in Batman 103.
So tell me how you pitched, this to Jim and Dan when they talked to you about coming on board the book. Like, you go in there and you give them like a rough outline of what's going to go from issue 1 through 100. Because as you pointed out, everyone's written also, just about every Batman story. So coming up with a new pitch has to be tough enough. Coming up with a pitch for 100 issues of Batman sounds impossibly hard.
I didn't phrase it that way. I think I just said I'll do the best I can. God laughs at you when you make plans. That's like the old phrase, and I think that can be true too in comics. That if you're too solid to a plan, you go to an editor and you say, "This is what I'm going to do, and this is my ambition," they're just going to think you're a freak, because 1,000 things are going to get in your way. The world will get in your way. So I think they would have looked at me like I was insane if I was like, this is what happens in issue 100. No, I think I pitched the small stories, but in the back of my head I kept that this is one big novel. I mean, I'm a novelist. I come from that sort of idea that there's an opening and a closing to every story. And those are the stories I love writing best. When I wrote The Vision or when I wrote Mr. Miracle, I like ideas of stories that have an end where you see a character and you examine them and they change over the course of that story and they reveal something about themselves. And because they reveal something about themselves, they reveal something about you and about the world. And that's what this whole thing is. You're going to see the Batman who enters the story is not the Batman who leaves it.
That's interesting that you talk about having stories, where the beginning and a finite point in time where it ends, because I would have thought you'd approach this as a more open-ended run, but all your other previous works have all been, defined runs. 12 issues of Omega Man,
Yeah.
Sheriff of Babylon, because I would imagine as a writer, it's great to have that closing sign there. You know where you got to get to, right?
True.
But you approach it the same with Batman, only just a much longer stretch.
Yeah, longer canvas and with a lot more partners in it. I mean, I've had the honor to work with just 1,000 great artists, but also there's also continuity because it's been Mikkel and I. Mikkel did the Batman Rebirth #1. Yeah, Mikkel Yanin. And I would hope he'll do Batman 103. And he's doing Batman 50. And so we're rotating in the best artists in comics around that, but that sort of heart and spine of Mikkel and I just going together and telling one epic story about one epic man will hopefully be the whole thing.
You brought back Calendar Man. I mean, you dug
We did.
to the bottom of the
Wait.
Rogues Gallery toy chest.
Kite Man's way below Calendar Man.
I don't know. Okay, fine. They're both there at the bottom. You pulled those out. You could have played it safe and stuck with the main guys who are still awesome, well-rounded villains that you can do a million things with.
Sure.
What made you decide to say, you know what? There's a lot of other guys here we can bring into the mix.
I think, to me, when you write, it's. I know this sounds like something that or I shouldn't say, but it's not about the characters they give you. It's about what you do with the characters. Like Alan Moore was given the Charlton's characters and made that, or you look at Gail Simone on Villain United, or it's about you see what's absurd in them, and that absurdity is the heart of the character. And I think you could make any Batman character amazing. You can find what's amazing, except maybe Condiment King, but but I mean there's exceptions to every rule. I
Somewhere out there's a fan of Condiment King who's saying, come on.
yeah, it's Grant Morrison. He's like, come on.
Come on, man. I just lost my train of thought that was a pretty good brief Grant Morrison imitation.
Sweet, nailed it.
Okay, the wedding issue. Is it going to be like a Reed and Sue Richards type thing where everyone and their mother's there? You're bringing
be.
everybody out? You're bringing
Could be.
everybody into it?
Could be.
Really? Just could be?
Could be. What do you want me to say? You want
Maybe-
Me want me to show you the picture and just read the issue for you
Well,
live?
I wouldn't mind, a few panels.
It's not going to be what anyone thinks it is, unless you think it's not going to be that. Then it's going to be that.
How happy is DC publicity with you right now? Totally tap dancing around that. I'll let you have that one. Okay.
Can I say it either happy or sad? It'll make you cry a little bit. How about that? That's somewhat.
I'll take it.
Yeah.
You write two vastly different books right now, Batman and Mr. Miracle. At least to me, they seem very different.
Yeah.
What's the workflow like? Do you work on them both daily? Do you do Batman Monday, Wednesday, Friday? How does that work for you? Because it seems like you have to get into a different mindset for the type of writing that you're doing for these characters.
So Double Ship is a whole. The Batman comes out twice.
Yeah, we forgot to mention that's
Yeah.
also a beast just because it's
Twice a month.
Twice a
yeah.
month.
And it's something it's never been done before. No one's ever done 100 issues of a twice a month best-selling book in the history of comics. So we're doing something that's never been done. So we on some level it's an improvisation, or the walls are down. We first thought this would last 12 issues, and now we're gonna go 100 issues with it. So it's insanity, right? And I have a brilliant editor, Jamie Rich, and basically what happens is I turn in a script on Friday, and on Friday he tells me what I need to write the next week. And I mean, I have a general idea where everything's going, and I have a rule that I can only do 3 Batmans in a row, or else I get too much in Bruce's head. Like you can only live there for too long before you go insane, and I don't want to be too insane. It always feels like a breath of fresh air to do Mr. Miracle. It feels like, because I'm leaving sort of that Batman world, because there's something. Batman's always at the end of the day right. When you're writing Batman, you have to be. He's always the smartest guy in the room. Maybe he doesn't want to be the smartest guy in the room, but that's who he is.
Right.
And eventually, that aspect of it as a writer becomes frustrating just a little bit. And so when I get in Scott's head and I have a little more of a flawed character who makes more genuine mistakes,
and who's always searching for answers.
and who's always searching for answers and less confident in himself, I get there. But of course, the Batman I'm setting up, you're starting to see that all that intellect and confidence, it is a barrier to something sort of a little softer underneath.
Given the great reaction that Mr. Miracle's had, I mean, it's such a great book, and it's universally lauded, and people don't just praise it, people love the book. It's a great read. Mitch Gerard's art is fantastic. Do you kind of regret only writing a 12-issue series?
No, I don't. No, it's a story that needs a beginning, a middle, and end. And yeah, I mean, that book surprises me on a lot of levels, because I really wanted it to be about this moment in history, this sort of, whatever political spectrum you're from, we're in this moment of paranoia where you read the news and it feels like the floor underneath you goes away and you're falling all of a sudden. And I feel it's just raised tensions in everything. Like everything in your life suddenly becomes a little more stressful, and the news of the day distracts you and makes you more tense. And I feel like a lot of us are dealing with levels of anxiety that we've never dealt with before worldwide. And so I thought Mr. Miracle was supposed to be about that. And when I started writing it, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about that anxiety. But what it became was it's about how we sort of escape from that anxiety, or how we grow into how we sort of lean on people we love, even in times of utter chaos, and it became a much more, instead of being just a book about the horrors of today, it became about how we can try to escape the horrors of today. So yeah, I like what it's become.
3 comics that are on Tom King's pull list right now.
Metal, that Scott just finished, I loved. Doomsday Clock that Jeff's doing, I'm loving it. Oh God, there's so many. I feel like I should say Bendis Superman so I get some some credit. How about Lady Killers by Joelle Jones, my co-writer?
Well done.
That book is brilliant.
Do you hate Bendis at the Writers' Summit when you guys all got together with him for the first time?
I haven't hung out with him yet. I'm nervous. I came up as a Bendis fanboy. You read my writing, you're like, oh, it's repetitive. I swear too much, sorry. But it's so repetitive. I was like, I stole that from Bendis. I stole my dialogue from him. I thought he was the best dialogue guy in comics when he first came in, and he still is.